And good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. We begin 13 News at 4 o'clock with this bridge closure, and it is causing some major concerns. I'm Anne Marie in for Dustin.
And I'm Jenny in for Felicia today. So this project getting a lot of scrutiny right now. We're talking about the 16th Street Bridge over the White River. It is closed right now for renovations.
It is something that we saw the community and businesses fight back over because the closure is expected to be lengthy. 2 years. Jenna Webster joins us live, and she's hearing some new concerns about the bridge now being safe for bikers. Jenna, what are you hearing?
Yeah, this all has to do with pedestrian safety, Anne Marie. It's Central Indiana Cycling who's raising these concerns, saying that once the bridge is reopened, these sidewalks are going to be too narrow for bikers to safely pass each other. Now, keep in mind, this area connects the White River Greenway to people living in Speedway. Now the city tells me they are committed to addressing these concerns.
The 16th Street Bridge is just weeks into its 2-year closure for major upgrades. Pedestrian advocates are happy to see the sidewalk still open during construction. What they're not happy about, though, is the finished design.
The final design drawing we saw only had 5-foot sidewalks on each side, which is too narrow for people walking and biking to pass each other. So the bike lanes would then be on the street, which was not what the standard is for a safe crossing.
That's Anthony Chirolis with Central Indiana Cycling. He'd like to see 8 or 12 feet wide sidewalks, or he says there's wider shoulders that could become a bike lane.
But it's time now for the refresh that it deserves. And most importantly, I think, a refresh that will include better pedestrian facilities.
The former DPW director told reporters in 2024 the bridge did need to better address pedestrian safety. But wider sidewalks didn't make it in the final design, and 5 feet is the state standard.
In order for us to add a cycle track onto the existing construction, it would have shifted the timeline based off of environmental factors because it's over the White River and because of the historic bridge, which means it takes another level of a reviewing process from the feds before signing off and approving that.
Leandre Level Jr., the city's Vision Zero administrator, says they want to address Central Indiana Cycling's concerns. It'll just have to wait until construction is finished, and it can be funded with local dollars, not federal.
Yes, we can add temporary materials to make sure that we better separate cars and pedestrians, give some more better delineation.
Where they incorporate those design improvements, it generally makes it safer for all road users, people driving and passengers in vehicles as well.
Chirola says it's a step in the right direction, but he wants to see a full design to make sure when this bridge does reopen, it's safer for all drivers, walkers, and bikers.
Now, Chirola says his other concern has to do with the White River Greenway Trail, which crosses right over the 16th Street Bridge. If you've driven in this area, you can imagine it's pretty difficult for bikers and walkers trying to get across just with the amount of traffic. He also says the sight lines here aren't too good when you're coming out of the trail.
Now, I know you had a long conversation with him today, Jenna, and I'm just kind of wondering, did he have any other ideas that he thought that were better or safer for pedestrians and cyclists?
Yeah, when it comes to addressing the trail right here, one of his ideas was that the trail connection could go underneath the bridge, which would make it a lot safer for bikers not having to cross traffic over to do that. But DPW does tell me right now there are no plans to do that.
All right, perhaps the conversation to do that will get going.
Hopefully it continues.
All right, Jenna, thanks so much.
Tonight, Metro Police are investigating after a person was shot and killed on the city's west side. This happened around noon at the Boardwalk and Westlake Apartments. This is near 10th Street and I-465. No arrests so far, but IMPD does need your help, asking anyone with video footage over the last few days in this area to contact them as they work the case.
A former Hendricks County bus driver went to court today facing several charges after being accused of driving students with that bus while intoxicated. Micah McLean is facing 5 different charges that do include neglect of a dependent and operating a vehicle while intoxicated, endangering a minor. The court records in the case say the former Mill Creek Community School Corporation driver tested positive for alcohol through a breath test. Documents say that McLean tested .111 minutes after picking up students and taking them to school. Our Rich Nye was at that hearing today and will continue our coverage throughout the news hours coming up at 5 o'clock. In the meantime, we want to talk about the weather. A beautiful day today at 4 o'clock. And here's a live look outside right now.
A magnificent Monday, I'll say it. I know last night Rob said Monday's going to be the pick of the week. And judging by everything I see and feel, it really was. It's like relief out there.
Yes, I love the alliteration. Magnificent, mild, marvelous.
Monday. If we're going to describe a Monday, definitely want to describe it with words like that.
Yeah, certainly. So it's changing.
It is changing. As early as this time tomorrow, we've got a couple of days in a row that we want you to stick with us because of the threat of severe weather. But the good news, you have the rest of today. You're going to have some dry time Tuesday and Wednesday early in the day ahead of those storm chances. But yes, a refreshing change from all of that heat and humidity last week. Nice to have some bright blue sky over Bainbridge. You can see that, and a few of those fair weather clouds. Looks great over Connorsville as well. A very similar picture from the western part of our viewing area to the eastern part of our viewing area. We look downtown toward downtown from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Temperatures in the 60s and 70s. I had a friend that thought it was too cool today. 72 in Indianapolis, 73 in Muncie, 68 degrees in Richmond, and 69 right now in Crawfordsville. Overnight temperatures on the mild side. Most of us will be in the middle and upper 50s. From there, back into the middle and upper 70s for highs tomorrow. We do go under the threat of severe weather tomorrow. An increased threat on Wednesday. I'm going to walk you through the timeline of those storms in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Angela. We'll check back. Looking ahead now, election 2026. Next week at this time, we're going to know the GOP running mate in November for the Secretary of State of Indiana.
Yeah, this is a huge race with a ton of attention right now. The Republican State Convention is this weekend in Fort Wayne. Our 13 News State House reporter Emily Longnecker is breaking down what we can expect there.
Yeah, going into this week's convention, delegates are going to have 4 candidates to choose from. The incumbent and current Secretary of State, Diego Morales, and 3 candidates running against him, Knox County Clerk David Shelton, conservative activist Jamie Reitnauer, and Max Engling, a former aide to U.S. Senator Jim Banks.
Unlike many other elected offices, the candidates are picked by convention delegates, not by votes. The delegates, around 1,800, come from all 92 counties across Indiana. The number of delegates each county has depends on its population. Some of the delegates were elected, chosen by voters. Others were appointed by each county's Republican chair. Because there are 4 candidates, delegates will go through several rounds of votes before a candidate is chosen.
Yes, I mean, one of the things that we expect will happen is that campaigning will happen until the very last moment, and the last moment here means until somebody has won. So we're not even talking about before the convention begins or before the first votes are cast, but if there is no clear victor on the first ballot, we expect to see wheeling and dealing. We expect to see campaigning. You'll see people moving around trying to convince people to go ahead and cast their next vote a different way for their preferred candidate.
While candidates have been jockeying for endorsements, Governor Mike Braun has not endorsed anyone. When asked about the number of candidates going into the convention, Braun has said the more choices, the better. At the Indiana State House, Emily Longnecker, 13 News.
And 13 News is headed to the convention in Fort Wayne this weekend. We will bring you a complete breakdown of all that happens there.
In the meantime, in another party, Bo Bai, the Secretary of State nominee for the Democrats.
He won his party's nomination at the state convention earlier this month. The Libertarian Party chose Lori Schillings as their party's nominee for Secretary of State.
That party's convention held back in March. Former Indianapolis Mayor Greg Ballard is working to get enough signatures so he can be on the ballot to run for Secretary of State.
And if he does, Ballard will be the Lincoln Party nominee.